Hi comic fans, it's Walt. I'm back after a longer break from single issue comics. I finally got to my shop yesterday. I'm not from the future. And I got a gigantic stack of books, which I added to my other gigantic stack, which I haven't finished. And I just sat down yesterday and read most of them, and I was super entertained. I'm very excited, partly because I drank a lot of coffee in the morning, but also because, man, there are so many good books out there, especially in the single issue market, which everyone is saying, oh, it's a dead end. Single issues won't sell. This is forget single issues, whatever. But it's so much fun to read comics in a comic format, not in trade paperback where you have to wait for half a year. No, in monthly installments, and to be excited about getting to the comic shop in a few weeks again and get the next installment. It's fantastic. And I have to say I'm much more bullish for single issues right now. Sorry, I have to take another sip of coffee. I'm much more into single issues right now than I'm into graphic novels. The stuff that I've sampled for my soon to be released end of year best of review of comic books and graphic novels of 2017. Well, it showed that the strongest releases were in the single issues market, and especially from two publishers, which are, I'm really I'm looking for words because they are so good right now. It's DC Comics and Image Comics. Both of them are producing. I think they're at the top of their game. There wasn't a phase in either publisher's history which was stronger than what they're putting out right now, in my opinion, of course. So yeah, let's get into the reviewing. I won't talk too much about every comic because it's a lot, and yeah, I don't want to bore you. I will start with a rather weaker effort by DC. It's Ragman number 1 and 2, which is a miniseries, a $2.99 miniseries. So I was instantly subscribed to it because it's by Ray Fawkes, who is a writer who I'm always on the lookout for, because I think he hasn't reached his full potential yet. But I'm slowly giving up on him because yes, he has, those ads, they just don't stop. Those Snicker ads, which look like a comic page. And I'm always like, oh, next Snickers. Okay. It's really irritating. The art is really nice. It's by a guy named, I didn't know him, Miranda. Oh, no credits. Nice. Well, but yeah, it's Inaki Miranda, and it's written by Ray Fawkes, and it's DC's version of The Mummy. Yeah, it's the same thing, Egyptian mystery, magical horror book, but without interesting characters and without a real hook. So I don't care. I read the second issue and I still didn't care about the character, about his conflicts. So if you want to hook me on a new book, you have to establish the characters first. I think this is really crucial, and I've seen it in other first issues that I didn't quite connect to. Even if I thought that the story is interesting or the concept is interesting, if I don't have some kind of emotional hook to it, and it's not super arty either, why should I bother? And those books by DC and Image, they have to they have to stay strong on the emotional part, because they're books who are supposed to entertain. If they make you start to think about philosophical issues, even better. But first they have to grab your attention. Yes, let's continue with a very, very surprising and strong offering by Hellblazer. I don't know how many of you are still reading Hellblazer. It seems he has fallen off the radar a little bit. So he was sucked into DC continuity with New 52, and with Rebirth he was released from the superhero Walt into his own little niche, and nobody really cared for it because the series was written by Simon Oliver, who is another of those writers who shows potential but doesn't really deliver until now. We will see. I'm really I don't want to be negative about any creative, because I know how hard it is to create, and I always give them 1 or 2 or 5 chances to win me over. And however, Tim Seeley, who for me is one of those, sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't, creators, he delivered with this storyline. It started in number 13 and it finished in number 15. And it's old school Hellblazer. It's old school Constantine, who is a prick. Who, all those tropes of Hellblazer, you know, the long lost love, demons, tricking, you know, having this contest of who's trickier and who's more mischievous between Hellblazer and the demons. It's all in here, and it's fantastic. Also drugs, sex, rock and roll, and super funny. A special feature: the JLA is showing up, and Constantine is cracking jokes about them, and it's super entertaining. I laughed out loudly when I read this, and I'm really sad that nobody knows about it. It's a fantastic book right now. Unfortunately, there is an interlude, another 3-parter, which is going on right now, which started with number 16, the latest one, which is written by certain, I think he's a book author, a novelist, Richard Cadre. And both the writing and the art is not really Hellblazer-y or Hellblazer-ish. It's a bit too neat and a bit too boring. But Tim Seeley will be back, and I hope he brings his artist back with him, who was Jesus Merino. Jesus Merino has this Avatar vibe about him, which I love, and I think it's a perfect fit for Hellblazer. So be sure to get on board with the next arc by Tim Seeley. He's a perfect Hellblazer writer. All right, next up, very exciting, Justice League number 34. Okay, they all fell on the floor. I have to grab them. So yeah, Justice League number 34 with a new slick DC design. So they got rid of the Rebirth thing here, which always looked kind of shitty in my opinion. And now this looks really, really slick and nice. This looks like a modern, fresh superhero comic, and it also reads like one because it's written by Christopher Priest. And it's very much in the vein of his take on Deathstroke. All this parallel montage of different storylines happening at the same time, and he's jumping from one to another. And it's a bit overwhelming in the beginning, and this is the first issue, so you know, a lot of characters, 8 or 9 characters who we are following, and it's not easy to stay focused, but I learned that this is always the case with Priest, and that you have to be a bit patient, and that he's delivering. And I will stay with this. I'm really excited that DC is changing some writers right now on some of their main titles. I've seen that also Superman will be written by James Robinson, at least for 2 issues. So another chance for me to jump on Superman. I didn't really enjoy Tomas's run. I know most of you did. I didn't. So I'm really happy to give Superman another chance. Justice League is really nice. It's fun. It's kinetic. It's very action oriented, and you should give it a shot. It's a perfect entry point. So now you don't see nothing because I have to pick up the books that I just fell on the floor. All right. Next up, more DC goodness. Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, written by Robert Venditti, who I followed back when he was at Valiant. He did XO Manowar back at Valiant, which was decent. A bit too decompressed, so I was very happy to read this one, which was a very dense story, a lot of characters. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not very familiar with the characters here, so I was hoping for, because it's the first part of a new arc. By the way, this was a pretty cool idea about the whole Rebirth design, that you always get the new entry points right at the cover. I think this was pretty clever, and I will miss that. However, back to the comic. So yeah, it is a starting point. I was instantly getting where the story is heading, but I wasn't impressed by the art, and I think those kind of cosmic stories with a big family of characters, which I don't really care about. If it's not super entertainingly written, it was fun. It was decent, but I don't have to follow it on a regular basis, especially because it's a bi-weekly book. Next up, Doomsday Clock #1. I was skeptical, as most of you probably were, because it's a follow-up to Watchmen. I mean, come on. This is pretty crazy. And it shows that Jeff Jones has really, really big balls by now. And rightly so. I don't know. It's a bit overwritten, as you can see. And I think the art by Gary Frank is really nice. But it's a bit too... Everything is a bit too dense for my taste. You know, it kind of lacks the clarity of course, of Watchmen. It's no Watchmen, everyone knows that. But I have to say, I'm normally not a big fan of Jeff Jones. He has a style of writing, a bit of a purple prose style, which I don't really enjoy. But I know he can build plots, and I know he can be entertaining. And this was quite entertaining, and made me curious to find out more, especially the last pages where Superman is introduced in his world. Probably we don't get to know a lot about how those worlds of DC, the familiar DC universe and the Watchmen universe, how they are connected. There are some hints here and there, but we still don't know yet, so I'm eager to find out. Was a very decent book. Do we have more DC books? Yes. We have a fantastic book by Sean Murphy, and it's Batman White Knight. It's incredibly well written. For someone who is more known as an artist and not so much as a writer, even though I really liked his Punk Rock Jesus from Vertigo Comics 5 years ago or so, And I'm wondering, why isn't this guy given a regular Batman book? For me, it's a no-brainer. You can see that he's a big fan of Frank Miller. Even in Punk Rock Jesus, I had the feeling that this has the feel of a late 80s book, a very good one. A very good one written by Frank Miller. And this year is even more Millerish. The way he, of course, the art itself is influenced by Dark Knight, I think, and by Ronin, and by this phase of Frank Miller of the mid to late 80s, but also how he builds his story, all the tropes of the Dark Knight, all the media around it, television commentary, the twisting of characters. So the main draw for this series is that the Joker is not the Joker anymore, but his just normal persona, and he wants to get rid of his own madness, and he wants to fight Batman in a whole different way, with his intelligence and not with his craziness. And the way he manages to influence not only the audience in the book, but also the audience that is reading the comic, that Batman is not that much of a hero, is fantastic. And it works really well, and it's very subtle, and man, I just love the art. It's so nice. I'm a big fan of Murphy's art, and I would love to read a regular Batman book by him. I mean, I'm doing it right now, but this will end. This is issued. Those are issues 2 and 3 out of 8, and I'm pretty sure this will become another perennial seller for DC Comics. This will get released in absolute editions and deluxe editions and whatever, and this will be one of those books 5 and 10 years from now we will still be talking about. And I'm not sure that this holds, this is also true for Tom King's Batman, or for what Snyder is doing now with Batman on Metal and whatever. This has the potential to stay an important book for a longer time, because it's getting into the archetypes of Batman, storytelling, the myth, the characters, the whole dynamic of how police, Batman, and the supervillains in Gotham are strategically fighting against each other, or seeking alliances and all this stuff. It's familiar ground, but it's told in a very fresh way, and this is as good as superhero comic gets, I think. All right. Next up, oh, that's sad. It fell on the floor and now it has a little ding here. And it's sad because it's one of my favorite new books. It's the number 1 of Maestros, which I just finished a few minutes ago before starting this video. And I was so excited about it. It's a book by Steve Scrotch. I'm not sure how to pronounce him. Pretty sure I fucked it up. And man, this guy is a fantastic artist. It's incredible. I'm really sad that this book is so small. It should be like double its size. And if this will ever get will get released in an oversized format, you have to buy it. It's excellently drawn and colored by Dave Stewart of Hellboy fame. But it's not only the art. It's a super fun story. Okay, be careful about being spoiled. This is a fantasy book. I know it doesn't look like a fantasy book from the few last pages that I've shown you. It's a fantasy um, mishmash. Fantasy meets horror meets comedy, I guess. And like the most successful books of the past, at least genre books. I think a genre book, if it's horror and it's about witches, which are really frightening and everything is very dark and whatever, I'm already completely bored because there is no contrast to it. I've read this 1,000 times or seen it in a movie 1,000 times already. So please show me something new. Pair it with something which is totally unexpected. And you get something like Preacher, which is basically a dark fantasy book paired with a very sarcastic and very ambiguous main character. And you get something fresh and new and exciting. Or, look at Saga. Pair sci-fi with a family story and comedy, and you get a great new genre mix. And this is also a very successful genre mix of, like I told you, fantasy and comedy and a bit of horror. And it was so much fun to read. Do yourself a favor, grab this. There are second prints out of number 1 and number 2. Number 3 is coming out in a few weeks. And it's one of Image's strongest releases in the whole year. And I'm pretty sure this will become the next big hit at Image Comics. Next to Extremity and some other books I will be talking about. This is one of the best books on the market. And it's just the number 1. So I'm expecting a lot from this. Okay, next up is Sleepless, which is more of tone-in-tone kind of genre book. So it's fantasy and it's about loyalty, love, and pureness. It's lovely, I have to say. It's the art by Leila De Luca is really nice. Nothing to complain there. I guess what's new here is that the princess is of color. So if you're into this kind of very representative storytelling, this is something new. But other than that, I just didn't get any vibe of excitement from this here. Other than, yeah, it's cute, it is. And I wouldn't mind continue reading it, but I don't need this in a monthly format. So I will give this another shot when the first paperback is released. But I'm always welcoming new genre takes, and this is fantasy meets love story, and I think more romantic stories should be released. It's a genre which is very underrepresented right now, and I've seen that Image is going very strongly in this direction. So I've read the previews for the next months, and they are releasing a lot of romance comics, and I think it's great. I don't know if I will buy them, but I think it's great for the sake of diversity, and not diversity in a representative manner, but in a factual manner that you can read different stories. This one here, God Complex, is by Top Cow. It's a number 1, written by Paul Jenkins. Paul Jenkins wrote a lot of Marvel books back in the day. Don't ask me which ones, I have forgotten. I remember him as being a quite capable writer. Nothing mind-blowing, and this isn't mind-blowing either, but not because it's bad. It's actually pretty good, but like I told you with, I forgot which book it was, if it's not engaging on an emotional level, or I don't really care about the characters or the conflicts, everything high concept falls to pieces. And this is super high concept tea. It's a lot of exposition, a lot of world building, and fancy ideas and also intriguing ideas, but it feels hollow. And yeah, I'm not interested in continue reading it. This is the problem. So maybe check it out when it comes out in paperback and tell me if it gets better or if it stays a little bit on the high concept but emotionally stiff side of things. All right, this is Redlands number 3. I know number 4 is out. I already got it, but I haven't read it yet. I'm still excited. Here we get another little glimpse of political commentary. I won't get into it. I'm still not sure if I enjoy that, but I really enjoy the mood and the overall tonality of this book. I think it's a great horror book and in very capable hands. Jordi Belair and Vanessa Del Rey are creating something very interesting here. And yeah, if you're into horror books, I think this is one of the best on the stands right now. Really enjoyed it. Another horror mix maybe is Gasolina, which is about well, what is it about? It's a good question. I haven't found it out yet. I enjoy it, but it's really hard to get into the core story, because it's a big build up. We have two main characters. I forgot the names. It's a man and a woman, and they have dubious dark past which they wanted to leave behind them, but now they have to act upon something, upon a threat that is threatening them and their loved ones in an area which is set in northern Mexico, I guess. No, it's not northern, it's here, Veracruz. It's southern Mexico. So it's about cartels, and it's about it's a gangster story basically, mixed with some demonic aspect. Something horrorish is coming in from time to time, but there is an invasion going on, but we still don't get what's really happening there. And I think it has also something to do with the art, which is very from the look of it, it's super nice, but it's not very effective at storytelling. So I will stick with it because I like the serious tone that Sean Mankiewicz is using here. I like the seriousness of it. I like the setting. It's a very different setting, and the basic idea. I hope it gets there. I hope it gets to this place where I can explain it to you better than I did right now. This is another sci-fi book by Image Comics, Void Trip #1, which was pretty, I don't know, pretty unnecessary, I think. The art is decent. It's a bit cartoonish, which it's also the kind of cartoonish that doesn't really excite me. But this is not the problem. The problem is more that I can't really relate to the humor. It's a humorous sci-fi book about two characters who are, Han Solo-like. They're like space adventurers and capers maybe, and doing semi-legal stuff in space and meeting a lot of aliens and stuff like that. It's not exactly for me, but I won't say it's bad. I will just say that it didn't grab me, and I didn't really catch on the humor that it wanted me to catch on. All right, and we'll finish this video off with Paradiso, which is yet another sci-fi story by Image Comics. And I think it comes out of Skybound. Not completely sure about it. Who cares? And this was amazing. First the art, but also really especially the storytelling, which is very complex. It's written by Ram V, or is Pramamic? Those are people I never heard from. Written by Ram V, art by Devmalia Pramanik. Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm not really good at it. But look at this art. It's incredible. So you get sucked right into this mood. The character, the main character, is established in the first few pages, and you really get a look into his inner workings. You connect with him really fast, and he has a mission. It's very classical, you know. You get his a look into his past as a child. You know what makes him tick, and now he has to fulfill a mission. He wants to get into this mythical city of Paradiso. This is a post-apocalyptic story which has the feel of Prophet. If you've read Prophet by Brandon Graham, this is in a way not completely similar. It's not as daring maybe or as experimental, but it's maybe a bit more entertaining, which is not a bad thing. And I really enjoy, look at this page, I really enjoy the whole layout, the way the story is told in pictures. It's like an epic cinematic take on sci-fi with very remarkable characters, quite unexpected little twists and turns, and this is a fantastic, grabbing first issue. This is how you do first issues. I will be back for more. I already subscribed to Paradiso, and I urge you to check it out. This is one of those very, very strong releases. The last time that I felt as strong about an Image #1, it was Extremity. This and Maestros are two surefire hits, in my opinion, from Image. And that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. As you know, if you want to support the channel, you can buy stuff from me, new comics, paperbacks, hardcovers, omnibuses, omnibuy. You can check out the link in the description to my eBay page and to my newsletter. Other than that, come back tomorrow and I will talk a little bit about Marvel Legacy and some more indie books. Until then, have a good time. Bye-bye.